What is retrogression, and why do some of the dates retrogress, especially for Indian nationals?
Yeah, so retrogression is related to the amount of visas that are available to a particular class of immigrants. So what we're talking about here with regard to India is that a limit of 7.5% of all employment-based visas may be used by one particular country. And where we have so many very talented people who are born in India and work in the United States, file for green cards and adjustment of status, it creates a situation where there is a large waiting list, right, of people who are needing to file for that adjustment of status. So what ends up happening is there are recalculations made according to the dates. So for example, and it's not equal. It's not like an even situation. So like, for example, so we're in December 2014. Now USCIS is going to look at maybe the next 3 or 6 months. How many people will be eligible to file for adjustment of status if we move the date to, let's say, March 2015, right? And then like if the number of people within that span of time is far more than, let's say, the previous 3 months or the previous 6 months, then they would probably not necessarily push forward the dates. They would leave them where they are. Now, there are some situations where they've overestimated, right? They've gone too far. They've said, well, based on how many pending cases we have, how many, look as if they're going to file, we can go as far as December 1st, 2014, as they have now. Then data will come in, and then they're going to say, oh, well, wait a minute, there's actually far more number of people who have filed for adjustment of status than we have allocation to provide. Therefore, we are going to, retrogress. We're going to take the dates backwards. So instead of the date being December 1st, 2014, it can go back to, let's say, 2013. And the real pain of that is the folks who filed for adjustment of status between 2013 and 2014, in the event of a retrogression, their cases are stuck. They don't continue with the case. They don't process the case. And they'll just be sitting there with a pending I-485. And I've seen really crazy scenarios, like people who have had I-485 pending for many, many years. And it's just really troubling circumstances. And one of the reasons why the ultimate, solution to all this is going to be legislative. But, with the way the government is, positioned right now, and elections are coming up, and, the midterm elections, I wouldn't hold my breath. I mean, you're depending on Congress to come to some scenario. I think people have had their hopes up and down so many times. I don't think it's going to happen. And, even if the best case scenario right now, maybe in a budget reconciliation bill, would be that they would solve the problem of aging out. So the problem of aging out, for those of you who may not be familiar, is where an individual is on an H-1B and they have an existing I-140 that's approved, but they're not able to file adjustment of status because of the backlog and the data filing, right? So what happens is, if they have a child who, is now turning 21, they're no longer allowed to be, part of that family unit with an adjustment of status. They have to acquire their own independent status, and sometimes even self-deport. So that's a very tragic circumstances. They've coined the term, legal dreamer, which I don't really like too much, because I think, I wouldn't call the dreamers who, were brought by their parents, maybe, through border crossing or, any other means illegal, because I wouldn't characterize any human being as illegal. I mean, you know, I was joking with one person yesterday that when they were asking me, well, people, you know, cross the border and they, you know, get into trouble. I said, well, you know, when George Washington's, you know, father or parents came to the U.S., do you think they applied for a visa and, you know, entered with inspection? No, they didn't. They came into the country and they walked right in. And, you know, so I don't necessarily think that America, if it lives up to its ideals, should exclude anyone from that story. And I think, you know, so everybody should be, you know, considered legal. So I don't want to go on a tangent that gets into more philosophical kind of discussion, but I do think that when it comes to folks who are in visa backlogs right now, particularly those with children, you really need to reach out and get help. You're sitting on your hands waiting for Congress to do something. It's not going to happen.